So now that we've gone over selections in DonorQuest, we're ready to move on to reporting. And there are two types of reports in DonorQuest that you can preview or print. The first type is an auto report, and the auto reports in DonorQuest will run through the database, pick out the donations or people or data that qualify for the report. It will do it automatically for you and then preview or print the report for you. In most instances, you will use selection-based reports, though, and we'll get into those in just a minute. But to go over the auto reports, there are just a handful of them in DonorQuest, and to access them, you click the Print Setup a Report button. This will bring up the reporting menu in DonorQuest, and if we scroll down through these available reports here listed below, we'll come to some reports that end in auto within parentheses. And the first one we come to is donations, previous year only auto. So if we click preview, DonorQuest will now run through, pick out the donations within the last year, and preview them for you here on the screen. And in our little sample database, there were just 2 donors that gave in the previous year. And we can see it shows you the donation, also gives you a total for the report. If the donors had more than 1 donation, it would also subtotal by donor. And if we scroll over to the right here, there's actually more information that's on the preview screen, but you have to scroll over to see it. And if you choose to print this report, all this information would print out on one page nicely for you. So that's how the auto reports work. They're very simple to use. So I'm going to click cancel now to cancel the preview. And there are several more scattered throughout the reporting menu here. So if you scroll down through here, you'll come across a few more. But for the most part in DonorQuest, you're going to be using selection-based reports. And the selection-based reports tie into what we just went over in the last portion of this video demonstration, where you run a selection by clicking on the green and white question mark. And when your selection finishes, you'll be taken here to the selection results screen. And for example, if I wanted to print a report on all my board members, the selection I ran earlier, there were 3 board members, and if I use the print report button here, it will bring up the reporting menu again. But you'll notice that the reports here at the top are grayed out, and that's because this selection was run from the header table. And if you remember from the last section of the video presentation during selections, the source table in DonorQuest is an important part of the selecting process. So if you're interested in the donor's mailing information, or if you want to see all the donations for the donor, you can use the header table. But if you need to see specific donations for a donor, you need to run the selection from the donations table. And that's because now here in the reporting menu, you can see the only reports we're going to be able to use are down with the H for header reports. You can see that they're here in black, and that means that these reports are available for previewing or printing. So if I wanted to see all the information on my donors or on my board members, I would choose this header dash complete information on each donor report, highlight it on the screen here, and then click preview. And now that the preview is finished, we can see that there is all the information in the database about this board member is right here on this report. And you can see that this report is 6 pages, and that's because the complete information report is rather large, because it does show you all the information for each donor, so there's going to be 2 pages per donor. But if I want to navigate through the pages, I use the buttons here at the top. So I can go next page and see the second page for this first board member. And next page again, I'll see the beginning of the second board member. And again, if this report looks good, I can just print it by clicking the print button here. So there are over 150 reports here on the reporting menu, and there are a lot. Here are all the header reports that I can use for just these 3 board members. And so the nice thing about doing a selection and then printing a report is I've selected out my board members, but now I can see anything about them really based on the header table. So I can just see a report with just their donor name and street address. I can see their donation history, all their donations. I can see their donation and pledge history combined. So now I want to show you a donation selection and how that differs from the header selection. So this report or selection we were just looking at, the all board members, was a header selection. But now if we look at the donation selection down below here, you'll notice the table says donations, and that means when we click print report that the donation reports are now available. The contact reports are still grayed out because the selection was not run from contacts, it was run from donations, but now we can see all these donation reports are in black, and that means we can preview or print them. And one of the reports you're going to use most often in DonorQuest is the donation detail report, and that will show you the donor's name, all the donations that qualified in the selection for that donor. It will give you a subtotal by donor and also a grand total for all the donations that qualified. So if we hit preview, DonorQuest will build the report preview, and here we can see the donor's name, all their donations for the selection that qualified for the selection, excuse me, and also a subtotal by donor. And if I click last page, it will show me a grand total for all the donations that qualified for the selection. Now, the reports that we have here on the screen are customizable. As I mentioned earlier, there are 150 reports that come standard with DonorQuest, but any of the reports here can be customized, and the simplest way to do that is to simply copy the existing report. Say, for example, you like this donation detail report, and we're going to go back to the preview, but perhaps you want to add the donor's telephone number here, or you weren't interested really in the TY code that was associated with these donations. You can simply take out a column by removing it from the setup and then adding another column if you wanted to add one. But we do not let you modify the stock reports in DonorQuest. We ask you to make a copy first, and that's just so the integrity of the program stays generally the same for everyone who uses it. So when you call us for support, if you give us the name of the report and it's something that we're not familiar with, we automatically know it's a custom report that you're dealing with there. So if we wanted to customize this donation detail report, we would just click copy, and we would just change the name slightly. We would add custom perhaps at the end of the title and click OK. And now we'll see that now this report is here on the menu, and we can just customize it by clicking the setup button. And we can add and remove columns by going to the Fields tab here and just taking out columns by clicking the Delete button below, or adding columns by clicking Insert. So that's a general overview how to customize a report. And of course, you can get in much more advanced things as well. But almost any report you can think of, we can help you create over the phone, or we can create it for you and ship it to you as well. So that's a summary of reporting in DonorQuest, and next we're ready to move on to system administration.